last week, the Minority Day was being celebrated. My research interest has also been minority rights. And some people have asked me this question, that if I do not belong to a minority community, why am I interested in writing about them? Friends, in my MPhil and in my PhD at Jawaharlal Nehru University, I researched the minority questions. I researched the history and the politics around the minority issue, and minority question has been very close to my heart for a long time. Here I would like to talk about my own interest in the minority questions, and why do I believe that welfare of the minority, treating them equally, safeguarding their interest should be everybody's concern. Friends, when we look at democracy, we notice that this political system has empowered the people, but it has also brought several challenges to the minority. In non-democratic system, people are not given right to vote. People do not have right to express their will as far as the choice of government is concerned. So the will of the people, the government by the people, for the people, are not there. So democracy in this way was an advancement, was a step forward as far as empowering people is concerned, giving them right to vote. And in today's modern democracy, everybody, irrespective of race, caste, religion, property, everybody gets equal vote. So a rich person in India has the right to vote. Similarly, a rickshaw puller, a poor, has also got right to vote. And the value of the vote of a millionaire and the value of the vote of a poor person is the same. So in this way, democracy is, of course, a revolutionary system, and we must celebrate it, we must preserve it. However, in a democratic setup, government is formed through elections. The party which has won the large number of the seats are in a position to form the government. So basically it is a majoritarian government. So the government is formed on the will of the majority. In other words, the majority decides largely who will be the leader of the country. This electoral processes has also paved the way for the politician to use, to exploit the reactionary fault line in the society to get easy access to power. For example, in India, Hindus and Muslims have been living for thousands of years. Both Hindu and Muslims largely share lifestyle, food habits, cultures, etc. Despite the fact that they professed different religions, they learn to live peacefully in a society. However, when democracy came, the leaders of the majority community come to realize that if they use Hindu and Muslims binary, if they do the politics based on the religious identity, they will be able to win a large chunk of supporters and they will be able to gain access to power. After 1957 in India, when a small democratic reforms were initiated, we also see the rise of Hindu and Muslim politics. Hindu revivalist leaders constructed a new Hindu identity in opposition to Muslims' identity, and they tried to highlight the fact that Muslims are not only foreigners, they are not only aliens, but their existence are also a serious threat to the Hindus in some domains. So, the Hindu and Muslim communal politics is basically fueled by the electoral politics. So, the electoral game is also responsible for further intensifying the communal strife, and this process has not stopped so far, and in today's time we see that the right wing government is gaining access not only in India but also across the globe. The right wing emergence in politics is basically using and exploiting majoritarian sentiments to gain power and to divert the attention of the people from the real problem. So, minority and the politics around minority are very central to understand the modern day politics, where number matters. It is because of this religious politics, the politics of the binary, the politics of constructing a separate identity, that we see that the minority community across the globe has been demonized. They have been projected as a threat posing to the well-being of the majority community. It may be the case that in one particular country, anti-minority feelings would be less, and in another country it would be more. Now, the question is that in a democratic setup where people are empowered, people are given political rights, if that is to be celebrated, then at the same time we should also be concerned about the simultaneous process of minorities being demonized, minorities being discriminated, minorities being excluded. So, the exclusion of minority and the discrimination of the minorities and erasure of the minority cultures are also happening in a democratic politics, and these reactionary measures are being justified in the name of majoritarianism. So, right wing populist leaders have emerged and they have succeeded in politics by making the Muslims community as villain, as a threat to the mainstream society. So, you will see that a binary is being created across the globe where the majority community is seen as peaceful, the majority community is seen as lawful, the majority community is seen as law abiding, the majority community is seen as the community interested in welfare and development of the country. On the other hand, minorities are demonized as violent, as reactionary, as religious fanatic, and as burden on the welfare of the society. Minorities are also treated as anti-nationals and traitors. On the other hand, the majority community and their members are seen as true nationalists. So, this is the background, this is the side effect of the democratic politics. But there were some philosophers who were aware about this majoritarian tendency in democracy. And I would like to remember Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar in this situation. Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar was quite aware of the fact that in democracy there is a strong tendency of majoritarianism. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was very much aware of the fact that in a democracy the dominant caste, the dominant classes, the elites, they try to present, they try to sell their own selfish interest as the national interest. The affirmative actions demanded by the lower caste, the Dalits, the minorities, the Muslims, they are being dismissed as communal problems. So, Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar was quite aware of the majoritarian tendencies in democracy, and that is why he looked at democracy in a very different way from the perspective of the marginalized. So, Baba Saheb Ambedkar was in fact a champion of democratic change. He was a champion of radical change in a social and economic domain, but at the same time he was not for achieving those changes through violence, because he believed that any change brought out by violence will not be durable. So, Baba Saheb Ambedkar believed as a democrat that the peaceful methods of bringing about change is far better than violent methods. Baba Saheb Ambedkar has clearly said in his conceptions of democracy that welfare of the people should be the orientation of the democracy. Baba Saheb Ambedkar has said it very clearly that the form and the program of the democracy have been changing throughout the years, throughout the centuries, but the modern democracy, a true democracy, has to address the problem of inequality. Baba Saheb Ambedkar, following his definitions of democracy, has also said it very clearly that democracy is not all about the rule of the majority. Baba Saheb Ambedkar has said that democracy is not all about the majoritarian tyranny, but Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar has said that a true democracy is the one where minorities' interests are respected and their interests are protected. So, in a democratic setup, it may be the case that the government may be formed on the basis of majority rule, because there is no better options available right now. Maybe in the future some better options may be available, and that we must accept it, but till the time there is no options, there is no alternative to the formations of the government based on majority vote, then the majority government, the government based on the support of the majority, should never overlook the problem of the minority. So, Baba Saheb Ambedkar has said that in a democracy, the government may be formed on the majority support, but it should never try to ignore or suppress the issues of the minority. So, a true democracy is the one which is being run with the consent of the minority. And Baba Saheb Ambedkar has clearly said many a time that in a democracy, minorities should be given proportionate and effective representation. No democracy can be successful without giving proportionate and effective representations to minorities. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was aware of the fact that the mainstream parties are only interested in giving token representation. They are not ready to recognize the real leadership of the marginalized community. And in Baba Sahib Ambedkar's understanding, the concept of minority is very broad. Minority is not limited to the group which is from religious community. So, minority is not only the religious community, but minority also includes Dalits, Adivasis and other social groups which are socially exploited and historically marginalized. So, any form of democracy can only be successful when minorities' interest is protected. Many right-wing theorists believe that minority is a threat to the majority community. Minority is a threat to the emergence of a strong nation, but this is not true. The presence of minority makes any society more strong, because the presence of minority provides multiple options. The presence of minority offers to the mainstream society a different culture, a different way of life. So, a society which is multicultural, a society which is plural, is more strong than a society which is very uniform. So, uniformity is a weakness, but what is happening in modern politics, that uniformity is seen as a strength. Uniformity is not natural, diversity is natural, but the dictators, the authoritarian rulers, the right-wing leaders, they have always tried to erase diversity and achieve uniformity. Any society which is based on one culture, one religion, one language, that society is not strong. But a society where multiple languages are being spoken, where multiculture is flourishing, that society is strong. And this has been the strength of India, that it has been the home of people coming from different cultures, people belonging to different religions, but the majoritarian tendency is trying to paint India as the country belonging to a particular religion. The reason why minority should be protected and we should speak for the rights of the minority, because the presence of minority makes the society more vibrant. It makes democracy more vibrant and strong, and the presence of many cultures will help us grow better. Anybody who is trained in only one language, one culture, is not a strong person. So, this is the very idea through which I work on the minority questions, and I strongly believe that minority question is not limited to Muslims or Christians or Sikhs or Dalits or any marginalized community, but minority questions should be taken up by everybody, and the government must pay sufficient attention to it. It is very sad that minority culture is being erased. It is very sad that Muslims minority is discriminated in public institutions. It is very sad that minorities representation in government jobs and in private sector jobs are far less than their proportion, while they overrepresent in jail. It is very sad that minorities are being attacked and the police and the administration have failed to give them protections. So, the very purpose of discussing minority rights is to realize that majoritarianism is a real threat to democracy. And if democracy falls, then everybody will suffer, and the most suffering will come to the majority communities because they are in large number. So the point is that we need to celebrate multiculturalism and we need to protect minority rights. Imposing majority will on minority is fatal to democracy. This is what I have to say on the minority rights. Please share your view. Thank you very much.